and players mob him.
But Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jayson Tatum.
The Big Three NBA podcast is powered by PrizePicks and the Gametime app.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Three NBA podcast. Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn. I'm Kwani Lunis. The usual crew is here. But before we get started, as we usually do, I want to remind you that you are listening to this podcast, which is part of the CLNS Media Network family. We wouldn't be able to do anything that we do without great partners like PrizePicks. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can download the app today and get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Also, another great partner of our show is Gametime, which takes the guesswork out of getting great prices to your favorite sporting events and concerts. You can download their app today and create an account. All you'll need to do is use that code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Okay, that being said, let's get right into our big three topics of the week. The first one, Jayson Tatum, that man staying busy. He has a part-time job, if you haven't heard already. It's not as crazy as it sounds, but he has been announced as Duke's first ever chief basketball officer. He'll be working with the Blue Devils in a variety of capacities. Obviously, him being a pro player and Duke being a well-known basketball program, it's and him being alumni too. But it's a kind of a match made in heaven, but also clearly something I think to keep him busy this season as well.
No, look, we all need a side hustle, right? I mean, let's be honest. Every single person on this podcast got a side hustle. So why can't Jayson Tatum have one too?
Good point, actually. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right, Gary?
Right. How many jobs do you have, Gary?
Obviously, none of us have the Jayson Tatum means of not needing a side hustle. But I like the fact that Jayson is looking at ways to stay engaged, because I gotta believe that working out and going through all the rehab 6 days a week, it's got to get really monotonous for him. And you want to do something to just kind of change the pace up a little bit. And going down to Durham, North Carolina, hanging out with in a spot that, you spent a couple semesters of college at, there are worse things you can do in life. And the thing that I think about when I think of Jayson Tatum down in Durham, I'm thinking maybe this is Jayson getting a sense of maybe the next chapter after he's done playing, which hopefully will be for a while. Maybe he want to go into coaching. Maybe he wants to see what that looks like now at the college level, and do it in a very non-pressure situation and scenario. So to me, there's nothing but positive that Jayson can come away with being in the role that he's in right now with Duke.
Yeah, I think it's a nice, good idea. I know he's definitely is despite the fact he only spent 1 year there, he's very loyal to Duke, and he's a Duke Blue Devil through and through. So I think it's a neat way for him to deal with players who at this point now are like a decade younger than he is, and almost, he's 27. They're going to be 17.
Well, you mean kids from 19? Jayson Tatum deal with 19-year-olds?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They're like the generation behind him, I guess, if you want to call it that. And for him to probably have his fingerprints over the program, how it operates. And obviously Duke has had some success, but I don't know, Sherrod, I can't, when's the last time Duke won a championship? And I'm not trying to be funny. I know they've gone to many Final Fours, and last year they blew that game against Houston that they really had won. And, when they blew their chance to face Florida in the national championship game, but maybe this kind of is that lift, that boost for, Duke to get to that next level and to win a championship, because obviously recruiting's never been a problem. But to me, maybe this is a way, and I think it's a good way for Jayson to, have his imprint on the program, probably, be interested in what's going on, help out the kids in the NIL situation, and keep it to where he does have involvement, and maybe it does create another career path for him.
I think one of the big things, though, that's going to come about with this is that Jayson's going to be inspirational to these kids. I mean, Jayson is where so many of these kids, when they go to Duke, want to be where he's at. And for them to see that in person, in the flesh, on with some sense of regularity. I think that's real motivating for a lot of these guys. And to your point, Gary, that may very well be kind of the silver lining behind all this, that this is something that, for Jayson, it's a chance to just, kind of break up the boredom and monotony of rehab. But for those Duke players, this could be that one thing that gets them to lock in and focus and do the things that can help propel them to that next level, which is obviously one of the main reasons why a lot of these kids come to Duke in the first place.
Mm-hmm. But to your point, Sherrod, if this is a next career step, I know oftentimes they do advise that. I mean, granted, Jayson Tatum is in theory nowhere near his retirement, but it is advised to kind of figure out what you're doing before you get to that point, so that it's not like a full culture shock essentially when you retire. So if coaching is on the pipeline, this would be a great opportunity to really understand how collegiate sports works and from the behind the scenes perspective too.
Or the thing about Jayson, and coaching makes a lot of sense. But for all we know, Jayson might be thinking, you know what? I want to be more like Brad Stevens. Have a little bit. I want to be a shot caller. Mm-hmm. And Brad is shown, obviously, he's pretty damn good at it. I would say, as good a coach as I think Brad Stevens was, he's probably a better GM. When you look at the type of deals he's been able to execute and the results that he's been able to garner in his current role. And think about Jayson Tatum. He's going to be on the sideline around Brad probably more than he's going to be around Joe Mazzulla. And so being around that Duke program, this might be a way for Jayson to get a better sense of what do I need to learn if I want to be a GM someday? What do I want to be a team owner someday? I think Jayson, this is an opportunity for him to really grow in ways that he would not be able to if he were, playing, 82 games a season. So there's a lot of benefits for Jayson, being more involved with Duke. And just frankly, I love the fact that Jayson is thinking of different ways to break up this rehab time because the more I think about the idea of just working out 6 days a week, knowing that it ain't going to be fun, knowing that your body's going to be like, damn, bro, seriously, we still got to do this. Having a chance to do something that can benefit you long-term and break up the boredom of what you got to do on a day-in, day-out basis. I think this is a great opportunity for him.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but have you two seen Jaylen Brown has gotten into the streaming world? Where do you think that takes him long-term?
Gary, Jaylen, because I defer to Gary because, they got that whole Cal connection. So
the Cal connection.
So Gary, your boy in them streaming streets. What you think about your boy being in them streaming streets?
I mean, I think honestly, this is a way for him to reach out to folks, and it kind of maybe soften his image a little bit. I think Jaylen has always been known as a really focused, really kind of intense, not to be messed with guy in terms of his personality, his social media. He tweets about serious stuff and posts about serious issues. He's been active in the community, and I just think this is for him to reach out to his fans, to his public, to kind of show his lighter side, the side that likes to laugh and joke, and some of the sides that we see. He's not always gruff and ready to throw down with everybody every time you see him. He's a man of different faces, different sides, and I think this is an opportunity for him to show to the younger folks, especially who really want to see him stream for hours at a time, which does not include me, but see him stream and see a different side of Jaylen Brown. I think that's a good thing, and I think when you come into a certain level of your career, now he's going to be 29 later this month. He's not a young man anymore. He's not a young man. He's a young man around in the world, but he's not a young man in the NBA anymore. And there's dudes coming into the league 20, 21, 22 who are literally a decade younger, like Hugo Gonzalez. Some of these guys are young enough to be his little brothers, right? Maybe even an uncle, in certain situations, right?
We didn't go in those certain situations, Gary, but let's keep it moving.
No, in certain situations. Shoot, I have an uncle who's 4 years older than me, so he's my uncle.
Yeah.
And so no, he calls me nephew. I do not call him uncle.
That's real. I get that.
And so, yeah, he's 4 years older than me. So it happens, Sherrod. I don't know what you talking about. Anyway, so I think this is a way for him to kind of show the different sides of him. And I think that's a good thing for him to reach out and kind of be a little bit more open about his personal life, open about, just some of the jokes, and his relationship with Bill Nye, the science guy, I think is a really neat thing that's kind of developed over the last, maybe year or so, where, he was at Bill Nye was at Media Day, and Jaylen attended his Hollywood Walk of Fame induction. And so I think that those are things that I think Jaylen's trying to show people about himself. And I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's talked about that, during Media Day. He talked about just kind of, basically being a little bit more open. And, he summed it up, I think, very succinctly. And that's that I don't care. I think that was the issue that more than anything else was kind of keeping that barrier source between him and a lot of his fans and in the public, was that he cared so much about what they thought of him that it made him leery to just kind of open himself up. Whereas now he ain't got nothing to prove. He got the money, he got the status in the league, he's got all the type of trappings that you would want to have when you come into the NBA. So there really is nothing left for him to showcase and prove, other than can you win without your right-hand man, Jayson Tatum, in the mix. That's literally the only thing that he has yet to show that he can do, in part because he's never had the opportunity. He's going to get that opportunity now. But I love the fact that Jaylen is engaging himself, more with the public, because, we've been around him from day one that he came to Boston, and he's a much more likable dude than I think people realize. And that's why it was always kind of it always struck me as odd that the perception of Jaylen Brown and the reality that we dealt with were not one and the same. Mm-hmm. He's one of the more, not just as really smart, he's a likable guy. And he's I think he's at that point where there's a very clear balance between trying to stay up on what's happening now and engaging with folks, but also showing a certain amount of respect and reverence for those, who might be a little bit more seasoned. Like, for example, you go back and you watch the video when he did his Media Day press conference. One of the first things he did, hello, Mr. Washburn. Gave a shout out to Gary Washburn. Show some respect. I was like, put some respect on that man name. I see what you're doing. Okay. I was like, okay.
Okay, Sensei.
I wish the camera would have panned around to Gary, because
I would love to see his face.
Well, what can I say? But
yeah.
The bottom line is this, though. Jaylen is opening himself up in ways that he has never done before. And I think it's a good thing for him. It's a good thing for the Celtics. And that definitely for the fans, it's great for them.
Yeah. I mean, similarly, over the weekend, the WNBA, they hosted an event in Boston for young girls in sports. And Marina Mabry, one of the Connecticut Sun players, was there playing with the girls, showing them how to watch film, which I thought was really beautiful. In middle school, they're learning how to watch film. But I talked to her after, and she said something very similar, like what Jaylen's doing. She's like, I'm learning how to do TikToks with these kids. And granted, she's fairly, she's not like a full vet, but she's, new enough in the league where she's like, I've watched the evolution of us not having phones and barely using social media to now that really being the way that you market yourself as an athlete. So it is interesting that I feel like for us within the span of like 5 years, watching the evolution of like what exactly an athlete has to do really to stay relevant outside of their main jobs, essentially, in this day and age with the way the teens are using the internet.
The way them kids are doing it today.
Right. Back in my day.
back in 2009.
Who would have thought? 90s kids talking about back in my day.
Exactly.
It's funny.
I always say everybody is somebody's old head.
That's so true.
And you on that list, Kwani.
So I know, I made it.
Welcome to the crew.
Apparently, someone on the Patriots, they said Stephon Diggs, they call him Unc. I think Diggs is like 30. I'm like, they're calling you Unc at 30. Then anything other than that is crazy.
See? When you're young,
auntie status.
When you're young, you be throwing around them names,
and now you're in it.
And now you're in there, and that's all. Yep.
Not
You
even
thought,
right.
I'm showing respect.
No.
And then when it's you, you'd be like, oh, auntie, what the hell? Who you calling?
Nothing gets me like, oh, ma'am. I've gotten called ma'am before, and I'm like, what?
Facts.
What are we doing?
Father Time catches every one of us at some point.
No, literally.
And because I remember when I was,
it ain't funny when it's you, Kwani.
No, it's not. It was. I just moved to a new neighborhood, and one of the local kids, they're running their bike, and the little girl's like, "Ma'am, are we bothering you?" And I want to start crying.
We need to turn the volume down so we don't disturb you.
Oh, yeah,
Because one, I didn't think they were.
I know.
Like, no, y'all are good.
You are old, Kwani. The kids could be getting under you. Get off my lawn. I
was the nice neighbor.
Oh my God.
No, yeah, you see Kwani. Boy, you better get your bike out my what?
Damn, Kwani, she read you.
No, but like, literally, I think it's
that ain't gonna be mean.
No, I was chilling, right? And the boys that were with her were making yelling. So I think she was being hyper aware, but I literally didn't care.
Gary, Kwani gave him that look. We know the look.
I didn't give him a look. I promise you. I did not give him a look.
The little boys was like, Mama, that mean lady gonna hit me.
They said hi to me today, guys. I think they do like me. I think they like me. But I honestly think they're just respectful kids. That's what it seemed like. They were just trying to be aware of the neighborhood, which I appreciate it because a lot of kids don't care to be respectful at all.
Facts. Facts.
I love that this turned into a old people tangent.
Your fault.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, what else can we talk about? Let's see. What's next on the agenda? Well, it's time for you to tell us about our sponsor, Sherrod.
Well,
good friends.
We're going to start off talking about our good friends at PrizePicks, where you make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, which is where being good and being right is one and the same. It's the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Again, the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. They've got you can mix and match your player projections from baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey's starting to get popping now, esports, you name it. PrizePicks has you covered, and they invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. And with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. How do you get in? It's super simple. You just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Also, I want to talk about another one of our good friends, Gametime, which is, again, the thing about Gametime that I love is the prices. I'm just going to keep it 100 with y'all. I love going to college sporting events, and I love going to college sporting events where I don't have to pay a lot of money. And when you have teams that you follow that aren't in your backyard, like BC, you sometimes got to pay a little bit more than you want to for those tickets. But Gametime allows you to enjoy your favorite teams and not have to go broke in the process. The Gametime app gives you the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the best. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket prices and experiences. And it's incredibly easy to use, and a Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. And again, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be heading down to New Jersey to watch the Oregon Ducks play the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, which is a game that, again, it's great. The ticket prices are great. The location is great. And as someone who likes Oregon football, it's nice to be able to see them and not have to go 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles to do so. Like I had to do in the past. So that's going to be amazingly awesome. And again, to be able to have that experience and not have to break the bank to do so is everything for me and my family. So again, with Gametime app, it takes the guesswork out of buying college football tickets as well as concert tickets. You can also jump into that as well. You just download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, you create an account, Redeem the code CLNS to get $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today.
Well done. Thank you, Sherrod. All right. Well, let's talk about Mr. Joe Mazzulla.
Gary's boy.
Gary's best friend. By the way, we didn't talk about Jaylen Brown saying that he no longer plays for a basketball team. He plays for a track team now because Joe Mazzulla is insane.
I like that.
Yes, but yeah. Well, we can talk about that first, actually. Let's talk about that. It seems like the level of intensity in training camp has been different.
Oh, look. Gary, now I got a lot. Gary, you go.
Yeah.
You
Sorry.
go.
Go ahead, Sherrod. Go ahead.
Joe Mazzulla is cracking heads, and I love it. I love it. This is the thing that people have to understand. When you have like a really good team, and then you got a team that isn't quite talent-wise as good as the one it used to, you have to do anything and everything to get them ready for war. Every game has to be a fight. You have to be in that Warriors mentality every single night because you're not good enough to just show up and beat teams. The Celtics, and Gary, you know what I'm talking about. The Celtics, there are games where they would show up, spot a team 10, 15 points, figure out, okay, it's middle of third quarter. We got to start cutting this lead. Let's get it down to like single digits, and then we'll beat them by like 15, 20 by the end of the night. And they did that like clockwork. We saw them just absolutely just hunt teams down. I mean, they were like that track team with nothing but gold medalists against that other track team from some third world spot that don't run track, and they would just absolutely claw their way back into it.
They don't run track, sure.
But you know that
so why they got a track team?
Actually would run track.
Right. Why they got a track team? If they don't run track, why they got a team?
Has a bobsled
team. Because that's what their country has to do. They got to put a team together. So look, Gary, just because you got to have a team doesn't mean your team going to be good.
So like Antarctica.
I mean, Gary, you want a cow. Y'all put a football team together. That don't mean y'all going to be good.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, this team, Joe Mazzulla knows that this team is not built to just show up and beat teams the way they were in the past. So he's got to get them ready to fight and be feisty. And I love the fact that they're understanding they got to get out and run because they can't play that half-court game. They can't just bring it down, get it to Porzingis, and then get it to Tatum, and the next thing you know, you got a bucket. Nah, you got to get a steal. You got to get a turnover. You got to get teams on their heels defensively so you can get easy buckets. Well, go ahead, Cal. What you got?
I'm going to say that Joe Mazzulla is becoming one of Sherrod's big idols and someone he very much resembles, and that is Coach Carter.
My man.
Samuel L. Jackson.
You speak bad about my man. I'm going to come at you like Kwani do them kids.
No.
I did not. I'm going to have the kids on the podcast next week. Like, go get a permission slip.
You do not want the kids on the podcast.
Yeah, don't do that. Anyway.
They make kids at the park. I'm just saying.
Coach Carter, a.k.a. Sherrod. Because there's a definite resemblance.
Coach Carter. That's so funny.
And I think he is just working these young men very hard. There's a lot of new faces on this team, a lot of guys who have not played for Mazzulla, not used to the system, not used to his style, not used to how hard they work, not used to the unorthodox ways he runs practice. And he is going to implement his system, and he's going to put them into the fire. And I think that's a great thing. And Jaylen is more than one person has said that practice has been extremely intense. Training camp, they have done things where they've played football in training in drills where they use a football.
They should play tackle.
Yeah, I mean, and Joe doesn't hold back. You know, it's about the little things. It's not about. If you think that their practice is just running up and down the floor, doing little scrimmages and scoring buckets, and I got you, we won this game 7-5. There is so much technique that's going on because he's doing a lot of teaching, defensive teaching, the little things, just trying to master the minutia of offense and especially defense, so this team can be one of the better defensive teams in the league because it has the athleticism and the size to do it. It might not have the talent to score with teams. The Celtics might be middle of the pack offensively this year, right? As opposed to they've been top 5 for many years, right? Because with no Jayson, no Drew, no Kristaps, no Al Horford, and no Luke, Sherrod's guy Luke, you're missing 5 main guys on your team, right? And so now you've got to do it with guys like Luka Garza, Josh Minott.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. That's what he said, pronounce it. Why not? So it's Minott. Nemius Queta, and guys getting expanded roles like Sam Hauser. Don't be surprised to see him in the starting lineup this year. And along with Peyton Pritchard, that's what I'm thinking. Anthony Simons, they're trying to get him implemented, not only to be a scorer, but to do some of the little things defensively. Like, hey, you got the athleticism. Now it's about building the want to be a good defender. So this team is going to be scrappy. And I just think that's going to probably word is to summarize his team. So Coach Carter, a.k.a. Sherrod, a.k.a. Joe Mazzulla, is working those guys, making them do push-ups, putting hands on them and throwing them out of practice, but I think that they understand how much he cares about them and how much he wants them to be good. And I think that's the mutual respect that's being established, because you just can't go into this thing and just start yelling at guys and thinking the guy's going to respect you. This is a new generation. As Kwani just found out with young people,
found out.
These young people don't play.
That's true.
They don't just go by your word. You got to give them a reason to respect you. It used to be you respected all your adults and you respected nowadays.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And Kwani found that out the hard way. So I just think Joe is earning their respect. Obviously, they're earning his respect, which is equally as important. Mm-hmm. But I think Joe is also just making them do the little things, emphasizing the minutia, emphasizing the little fundamental things that's going to be the difference between shutting down a team or getting a defensive stop and maybe giving up an open shot. And sometimes it's not just bad defense. Maybe it's spacing. Maybe it's being in the wrong position. Maybe it's lack of anticipation or being too anticipating, overhelping, little things that doesn't mean you're a bad defense. It means you're not as tactical as you like to be. And I think Joe wants him to be sharp. So this preseason game, 2 games, one Wednesday, one Friday, we'll see how kind of they're playing defense. That's what I'm be interested to look at. I'm going to talk about that later. But just, I'm impressed with how Mazzulla's handling this camp. And he's running them. You want to bring up Joe Clark. You want to bring up some of the great, any of the great sergeants, any of the great military men of all time. Our friend just said Joe Clark, he ain't taking no mess. Some of the great ones, I think Joe was in that list of just, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. You're going to do it this way. And if you don't, you're going to hear about it, but it's going to make you better.
Love it. Love it.
Love you got Sherrod hyped up.
Sherrod, Coach Carter.
Right.
Let's go.
If you haven't seen Coach Carter, kids, just Google the Coach Carter, look at the photo, then look at Sherrod, and you're like, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
In mind. Yep.
Well, from a on the court perspective, we're talking about Joe Mazzulla now again, but he's been characterized by 3-pointers. So how will we see a difference now that their essential 3-point shooter will not be on the floor?
You know what? I go back to when Joe was at West Virginia, and I've gone back and just watched his play there. And I do think that this team is going to be a clear reflection of Joe Mazzulla, the player, than we've seen. Because Joe Mazzulla, the coach, has had an incredible assortment of top shelf talent in Boston. But Joe Mazzulla, the player, was solid, but by no means was he considered a top shelf talent. But what he was able to do was compete and fight and just find ways to impact the game, but not necessarily dominate it. And I think that's what he's looking for. Getting back to Gary's point, that's where the little things come into play. The ability to impact the game, but not necessarily dominate, just find ways to score one more point than the other team. I think we're going to see a lot of games. If the Celtics have if they have the kind of season that exceeds the expectations many have for them, you're going to see a lot of games that they'll win 97-93, 93-92, where they score like the last 5 points to get the win off of turnovers or something like that. This team is going to compete. And I think that's the one thing that if you're looking at this becoming more of a Joe Mazzulla-esque team, that's the one thing that's going to stand out. They're going to compete. I think they'll take significantly fewer three-pointers, in part because they're just not as good a three-point shooting team. And Joe, I think, is smart enough to know that when you have a certain type of talent on your roster, you lean on whatever the strengths of your roster are. It doesn't make any sense if you don't have good three-point shooters to be just bombing away. And conversely, if you got guys that have the ability to knock down threes and knock them down at a high clip, why would you keep attacking the rim when you should be shooting threes if your roster dictates how you should play? And when you look at the guys on this team, Jaylen Brown, I mean, he's trying to be funny about it, but he's right though. They do have a team that is built to run more. And for him, it goes back to something that I believe is true. This team is going to be more in the mold of Joe and Jaylen than it's ever been. When you think about the stuff they're talking about, getting out in transition, taking some chances on defense, those are things that Jaylen Brown does consistently. And if you had the poster child for that type of player among the Celtics roster, Jaylen Brown is him. So I'm looking at this team to just be grimy, just in your grill every single possession, foul the hell out of you. When you go for a layup, you're gonna have to check to make sure you got all them teeth in your mouth when you come down, because they're gonna be fouling you hard. And I love that. And we'll talk about this a little later, but there's one guy who I think is going to really kind of help, really embody that physicality that I think they're going to play with more so this year than they have in the past. Because they can't play finesse basketball. They're not built for that anymore.
Wait, who's the person?
We'll talk about him in a minute.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't see he trying to play a surprise game with us. Okay,
Don't Kwani, don't come at me, Kwani. Because I know you know.
No, because I'm reading. Okay.
Don't treat me like the kids in your hood. Don't treat me like them kids in your neighborhood. Don't be coming at me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying.
All right. Well, let's play a game of pick and roll. Besides Brown, White, and Pritchard, who's up next in the Celtics circle of trust, Sherrod?
You know what? The guy that I want to be there is Queta. I want him to finally cross that bridge and Joe say, "Brother, come on over here. You one of us now. You part of the core." I think Queta has the best shot at doing that. Queta by nature is going to foul a lot. That's just, you don't want him to, but that's kind of what he does. And Queta, I think, is the one guy that when you look at where guys are and where they have the potential to be, I don't know if there's another player who's going to play major minutes who has a greater upside to the point where he can make a difference this year. Queta, I think, is going to be really good. I think he's going to be surprise some people with, I think, some of the things he's going to be able to do, because he's going to get an opportunity to learn and grow and get better. And that's what this is about. And Joe is going to challenge him. Joe is going to push him. But this is the thing. Joe's been doing that from day one with Queta. So it's not like Queta's going to have to adjust to this new Joe Mazzulla. No, this is the Joe Mazzulla you've been dealing with all this time. The only difference is you're going to be playing through a lot of that, that tough love. Whereas before it was like, you might not play tonight, or you might play 5 minutes, or you might just play 25 minutes, depending on how things are going. I think he's going to be the next one to enter that circle, because, again, if this team is going to have the kind of season that exceeds expectation, somebody not in that core of Brown, White, and Pritchard is going to have to emerge, and I think it's going to be Queta.
I think it's going to be – I'll choose Anthony Simons. I'll say that I think the question is, in his situation, when Sherrod, is the water good? Like,
he thirsty.
Oh no, damn, Coach Carter. Anyway, is the water delicious? Anyway, I think Anthony Simons is a guy who wants to show that he's bought in. We've seen over the years several players over the years who come to Boston and they think it's going to be a temporary stop. This team is going to trade me. I'm going to be a free agent and I'm going to bounce somewhere when my contract's up, so on and so forth, who have eventually learned to love it here and want to be part of the team's future. And I think maybe Anthony Simons could be one of those guys. Now, the question is, whoever, we can go into the contract. Oh, they can't afford him. He's going to okay, we can do all that. But that's down the road. I think that he wants to show that he's invested in a championship kind of culture, because that's what the Celtics have. They might not be a championship team this year, but they have a championship culture. And I think for him to be bought in would be a tremendous stride for the Celtics and for Anthony Simons, because he wants to show that he can play big-time basketball for a big-time team on a big-time stage, right? And this is not necessarily the biggest of stages, because the Celtics are going to pick not pick to win the East. They're picked to be 5th seed, 6th seed, 7th seed, 8th seed. However, they can win. This team can win 49 games, but if you said they win 40 games, I don't think anybody would be stunned if they were 500. But the question is, he's going to be playing on TNT and Amazon and all these things that basically the Blazers weren't on very much over the years, especially only when Dame came back with Milwaukee, that they were on national TV, or they were the only West Coast game that night. And it was like, we got to show somebody. Let's show Phoenix at Portland. And half the country is asleep by the time the game tips off. So this is a time for him to really show what he can do, to show Joe Mazzulla, I'm invested. I want to be part of this. I want to be a Celtic. I like it here, and I just think for him to be bought in, for him to be in that circle of trust, to where by game 15, game 20, he's a guy, the defense has improved. He's becoming that number 2 or number 3 scoring option, where he has become like, hey, I've blended right in. I'm developed in this chemistry with my teammates. I am not here to just drop buckets so I can sign a big contract this summer. I'm here to help this team win. And I'm sure, with this representation, I think people around him like, hey, listen, Anthony, the money's going to come. You just got to do what you got to do. You got to do, it's not just drop buckets. It's play defense and show you can be that all-around player, and you're going to get paid. Don't worry. But look at this situation that you're in. You're not in Portland anymore. You're not on a team that's picked maybe to finish 10th in the West if you're lucky. Because Portland, as much as Portland's going to be better this year, they should be. They're deeper. They got a guy like Drew Holiday. They got the Scoot Hendersons and
Hall of Famer coach Chauncey Billups.
Yeah, Shaden Sharp and Sherrod.
That man is dehydrated.
I don't know.
Now I can't unnotice you drinking water.
Sherrod, damn, is the water delicious? Anyway, so
electrolyte.
But Portland's going to be finished at best to finish it, maybe have a chance at the play-in, right? So this is a situation where it's like, this is Boston, Anthony. This is big-time ball, sold-out crowds every night, sold-out crowds on the road. Like, you're part of something different now. So I think, in all honesty, this is a great opportunity for him. And if he gets bought in, we don't know what's going to happen to the trade deadline, but if he contributes to this team and they're successful or better than people think, who knows what can happen.
If I'm him, I'm looking at a guy like Evan Turner as a blueprint. Evan, remember, those Sixers teams that Evan was playing for were not that good. Evan comes to Boston, puts up numbers that aren't quite as good as the ones that he had in Philly, but nonetheless, he's impacting winning in a positive way, showing a all-around versatile game, playing defense, which was, again, Evan came here as a guy who wasn't exactly known for what he could do on the defensive side of the ball, and he turned out to be a solid defender here in Boston. And lo and behold, he hits free agency. Yes, he got paid. And then some. Anthony Simons, to me, has a lot of that same potential, except he's a little bit younger, and frankly, I think he has a clearer individual strength, which is scoring. But because his scoring comes in part because of his athleticism, it gives you hope that he can be an adequate defender as well. And again, as we talked about earlier, a lot of it just comes down to your willingness to do the dirty work, to do the little things, to do the things that aren't necessarily going to register in the stat sheet, but they impact winning. Are you able to close out and the way you're supposed to close out under control? Are you trapping and doing the double things? Are you anticipating passing lanes? Are you getting deflections? All those little things that matter to winning. Are you willing to do those things? And I don't know if he's ever had, and actually I do know, he's never had a better chance to do those on a stage where people are paying attention than he will this year. Will he make the most of that opportunity? We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. Well, where you guys both answered the question, it seems like you kind of answered my next one, but we'll see. Do you think there's someone that will have to play their way into Mazzulla and the Celtics trust this season?
You know, the guy I'm curious to see about Tillman. I'm curious about him because he's the one guy that, of all the new additions they've made over the last couple of years, you feel as though there's more to him than we saw. And again, as he talked about, you know, at the beginning of the training camp about just not being healthy last year, it made a lot of sense when you watched him play because he didn't look like the player that I'd seen in Memphis. He didn't look like a guy that you could not necessarily plug and play with, but could do more in terms of winning plays on the basketball court. He looked like a guy that was a shell of the player that we were expecting to see. And so if he's indeed healthy now and health is not an issue, we should see a better product on the floor. And if we see a better product on the floor, that will, I think, speed up that acclimation that he's going to need to gain Joe's trust. Because Joe, you know, Joe's going to give everyone – this is the beautiful thing about this team. Everyone is going to get a chance to play their way in and out of the rotation at some point. And it remains to be seen whether Tillman is going to do enough to be on the right side of that equation.
I'm going to say Josh Minott. And what I mean,
why not say Minott?
You set yourself up for that one.
Thank you, Sherrod.
You should be his like agent or something.
My goodness. So I think this is a kid who was a one and done at Memphis. He didn't get a real opportunity in Minnesota. This is his chance. Like he's a rangy 6'8" guy who can maybe knock down the three and defend. He's the wing that the Celtics have been really potentially looking for years. That wing, that really athletic wing. That's why Brad Stevens wasn't signed him. Brad Stevens is obviously a very intelligent guy. Okay, he knows his NBA personnel. So he goes out and gets Luka Garza, a guy who had an amazing career at the University of Iowa, has not had a chance to really prove himself, and now will. And the same with Josh Minott, where he can do the little things, and both of them come cheap as an athletic wing who can knock down the three. So I think it's kind of a show us what you can do. Both you guys wanted this chance, but Minott's someone who kind of intrigues me because of his youth, only 22, and his athleticism. And we haven't seen much from him. And in terms of the three-pointers, we have no idea what kind of three-pointer shooter Garza, Minott, like some of these guys, we have no idea. Chris Boucher can shoot threes. Like this team could shoot damn near probably as many threes. It's just going to be different guys, right? So we don't have any idea about the three-point shot. I would assume they'll take less because of who they lost, but they do. But we don't know. We don't know whether, Queta, who took a couple threes for Portugal in the Eurobasket, like we don't know whether he can shoot threes. They might have different guys knock down some threes, but to me, Minott's the guy I'm really intrigued by. I'm really fascinated to see him in this preseason. I want to see what kind of role he fills. And I think he's got something to prove inside because he's like, listen, I've been sitting for 3 years now. I was a one and done. When you're a one and done, you coming out to try to shoot. You ain't leaving after 1 year of college to ride the bench. You coming to try to be an all-star. So this is your time. Okay, you didn't rode the bench. Now, Josh, what's up? What you got? I think he'll show us something.
Why not? You're right, Gary.
Kwani, is there another topic, or is that like
the headache that he got was so insane? All right, we're gonna take a quick pause because I do want to remind our audience. As you know, this is the Big Three NBA podcast, right? We know this. It's part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you'll find our podcast, past, present, as well as other great regular content, Celtics related, of course. So make sure you're following along with all of the new things that come from the CLNS Media Network. But before we close out, Sherrod and Gary, we have to talk about the preseason game on Wednesday. They'll finally tip off their preseason. The Celtics will tip off their preseason in Memphis. But what do you expect to see? And again, this will be the first beta tester of what exactly the season could look like. But again, it's still preseason.
Yeah, Gary, you're gonna be in Memphis.
You'll be there. You're flying out on your PJ, right?
Yes. Private. Yep. You got that right. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. I mean, I think that.
Yo, I can't take Sherrod seriously.
The thing
if you guys aren't watching this podcast on a regular,
he's taking 22 drinks of the water.
Literally, we should have taken a shot.
Yet. It's not finished yet. Like, how much water you?
He got a gallon.
In case you didn't notice, Gary, it's kind of warm in Boston today. This is like the last really warm day.
5-gallon bottle. How much water is in that thing? Anyway, I'm expecting
hydrated.
I'm expecting light minutes from the main guys, the Browns and the Whites. But I'm expecting
the Browns and the Whites.
Yeah,
sorry.
Me too. I want to see the Browns and the Whites play too, Gary.
Unity amongst the people.
I didn't say blacks, I said Browns. Anyway,
oh my gosh,
light minutes from them, but I'm expecting obviously the entire roster to play.
Yes.
And we might get a good look at some of the two-way guys, maybe even some of the training camp guys. There's a couple of guys in that training camp that I think has been impressed, like the Kendall Browns and some of those guys that have been knocking down shots and doing well in practice. So I'm looking forward to a total 2 games in 3 nights, and then they play another one, so 3 games in 5 nights. So everybody's going to get to play. So I think we're going to get to see everybody, a total team effort. And of course, Joe's going to try to win the game, but I also think he's going to try to implement a system, and we'll see probably some units that he's trying to work with, and we'll get a kind of a snapshot of what might happen in a couple of weeks when the season starts.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing the Browns and the Whites play because
I can't stand this man at all.
No matter how much they play, I'm looking forward to seeing them play. No, the thing that I'm looking forward to more than anything is just to see where is this team physicality going to be. Mm-hmm. Are they going to be a team that's still shooting 45, 53 pointers a game, or are they going to be a team that's going to be a little bit more grit and grind? That to me is what I'm looking to see. And if they are going to play that style, who are the guys that seem to be most comfortable with that type of play, who you can imagine doing that when the games truly matter? Jaylen isn't going to play a ton, but, Jaylen is probably going to look to set the tone. Minott, a guy that Gary loves. That's another guy who I think we'll see some of, and we'll see whether his game can translate to being effective and productive and impactful for the Celtics. And, guys like Jordan Walls, who we haven't talked about on this particular episode, but that's a guy that I'm paying close attention to him the entire preseason because he needs to play well. He needs to play well. That doesn't mean he got to go out and get you 20 a night, but if he is showing signs of, damn, Ugo is playing better than him. Minott is playing better than him. Damn, 3 or 4 other guys are playing better than him. He may not be playing in Boston much longer. So I'm really hoping that he can put it together, and because I do think he's an NBA player. I just think that he hasn't yet to figure out exactly what he needs to do to be a difference maker and a guy that can contribute to winning. So that's a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing. But more than anything else, I'm just looking at the style of play and seeing how Joe tweaks his approach relative to the personnel that he's got to work with now.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that didn't realize that preseason was already amongst us, here's the schedule for this upcoming week. So Wednesday at 5 they play. Then, of course, next game is in Toronto on Friday. And then Sunday at 4 they'll be playing the Cavaliers at the TD Garden. So by then we would have recorded our next podcast. So I'll just give you a little schedule update while you're listening. But I think it all remains to be seen. That's why we do these preseason previews, because, of course, now we'll actually get to see what goes on the floor. But any other words? Any final thoughts before we wrap? Because that's all I got.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Oh my God, he needs a water deal or something. He's still not done. He's still not done with that water.
It is what it is.
Someone get him a water deal for our podcast. All right. Well, before we get out of here, for those of you that have listened to the show, maybe you watched the show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review because you'll have all these silly moments on a regular basis, of course, with us. And for those of you that are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel where you can find our show. And like I've said before, a lot of other great Celtics content, your whole fix for the whole season. And one more thing, make sure that you're turning on those notifications so that you know the instant a new video drops like this one. For Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani Lunis. This has been the Big 3 NBA podcast, and I already see Sherrod lifting up his water bottle to do something dumb. Thanks for watching.
I'm just going to say good night, y'all. Have a good one. Good night. God bless. Show is good.